Have you ever wondered how a single life could hold so much light and sorrow at once? Picture a young girl, thin from hunger, hiding messages in her ballet shoes while the world around her fell apart. No one knew she would one day become the face of grace itself. Before the gowns, before the fame, before the softness the world adored, there was a child who survived war, loss, and longing. Her name was Audrey, and her story runs far deeper than the photographs we remember. She entered the world in Brussels in 1929, born into a family that looked elegant from the outside but carried fractures that no child could understand. Her early years were spent moving from one European city to another, her small hands clutching suitcases while adults whispered about politics and unrest. She learned languages as easily as breathing, yet the more she absorbed from the world, the more she sensed something trembling beneath her parents' polished surface. When her father left, vanished into a cause history would come to condemn, something inside her cracked quietly. She would later call it the greatest wound of her life, a hollow place that no applause or spotlight ever truly filled. Then the war came. She was sent to the Netherlands for safety, only to watch German soldiers march across its borders like a dark tide swallowing everything familiar. She changed her name to avoid suspicion, watching neighbors disappear and relatives taken away, all while trying to make sense of a world where children grew up overnight. Even in terror, she found courage. The pale girl with long limbs and shy eyes began carrying secret messages for the resistance, slipping tiny notes beneath the soles of her ballet shoes. One wrong step could have cost her everything, yet she kept moving, kept dancing, because she believed, even then, that doing what was right mattered more than fear. But hunger eventually claimed the country, and Audrey's thin frame grew even thinner. Still, when the war ended, she stood in the sunlight like a fragile blossom that refused to die. And she dreamed again. Peace returned, but its shadows lingered. Audrey won a scholarship to a prestigious ballet school in London, carrying the fragile dream that had kept her alive through war-torn nights. But years of hunger had left quiet scars. Her teachers praised her grace, yet her body no longer held the strength of a professional dancer. The truth broke her softly, as if the war claimed one last piece of her childhood. So she turned toward another path, almost by accident. Small roles, dim stages, long nights rehearsing steps she feared no one would ever see. But life nudges open the right doors precisely when a heart is ready. During a playful scene in Monte Carlo, writer Colette spotted her and saw not a timid girl but a presence that glowed from within. Broadway arrived. Hollywood followed. The child who once carried secret messages now carried entire films with a single, luminous glance. When Woman Holiday began, director William Wyler didn't just cast her, he understood her. Gregory Peck insisted her name appear beside his, a rare gift to a newcomer. Audiences were spellbound, her shy smile and gentle gaze reshaped beauty itself. Success surged in an Oscar, a Tony, applause that wrapped around the world. Yet behind it, shadows walked with her. A tender romance with William Holden bloomed, then faded. She longed for a family, he could not give her one. Fame, she learned, doesn't shield a heart, it only magnifies its fractures. What do you think it is that makes audiences love Audrey so much? Her beauty, her fragility, or her quiet strength? At the height of her stardom, Audrey found solace in Mel Ferrer, a man older, refined, and drawn to the stillness in her spirit. They married in Switzerland, hoping distance from Hollywood might grant them a gentler life. But heartbreak arrived in the quietest way. Pregnancy brought joy, then loss. She hid her grief behind the soft smile the world adored, carrying her sorrow like a secret bruise. A second pregnancy ended after a terrible fall on set, painful, frightening, and heavier than any role she'd ever played. Yet she finished the film with flawless grace, her resilience shining through the cracks. Only years later did light return with the birth of her son, Sean, whom she held as if holding morning sun. Then came Holly Golightly, a role that wasn't meant for her. Even Audrey doubted herself. Anxiety thinned her frame, yet she unknowingly created an image that would define an era: black dress, pearls, wistful eyes balancing glamour and loneliness in a single breath. Off-screen, she formed a soul-deep bond with Hubert de Givenchy, designer, confidant, the one who understood her before she spoke. Together they sculpted a legacy of elegance that time still bows to. But beneath every photograph was a woman who never fully loved her reflection. A woman shaped by war, loss, and longing. Her marriage to Ferris slowly cracked under control and quiet wounds. Leaving it wasn't escape, it was rediscovery, the first step toward belonging to herself again. What do you think makes Audrey immortal? Her talent, her demeanor, or the slight sadness that always lurks behind her smile? When Audrey stepped away from Hollywood at the height of her fame, the world was stunned. But she understood her own heart. She wanted to give her son the one gift she never had, a childhood anchored in safety, not absence. In Italy, she remarried, welcomed another son, and built a life scented with jasmine and soft mornings. Yet even that chapter carried quiet sorrow. Her husband's infidelities left bruises no spotlight could reveal. She returned to film briefly, choosing roles that allowed her to breathe, then drifted back to Switzerland, a village framed by mountains that felt like patient friends. There, with Robert Wolders, she finally found the simple, steady love she had long searched for. Then a new calling emerged. UNICEF sought her voice, soft, compassionate, shaped by memories of hunger. She traveled to distant places, holding children whose eyes reflected her own wartime fear. Under burning sun and dust-thick winds, she discovered a purpose that eclipsed any award. The glow she carried then wasn't cinematic, it was human. In later years, she sought her estranged father, receiving distance instead of warmth. Yet she forgave him, choosing grace over bitterness. After a final humanitarian mission, illness crept in quietly, a rare cancer long hidden. She returned to Switzerland, spending her last days wrapped in soft light and birdsong. On a gentle January morning in 1993, she slipped away as she had lived, quietly, beautifully.
Candid shots, fragments of lives and times long gone. That's the journey we take here, sharing rare glimpses into history's hidden corners. Welcome to Rare History Archives.